Hello, I hope you're all keeping well. My name is Eoin Price and I'm delighted to introduce Cymbeline, one of Shakespeare's latest and strangest plays. I'm speaking to you from Swansea, where I live and work, about 60 miles down the road from Milford Haven, one of the settings for this ancient British history about a divided and disordered kingdom at war both with Rome and itself. Cymbeline is one of Shakespeare's least known and least loved plays, although it has attained a greater degree of theatrical attention in Brexit Britain, resulting in recent major productions at the Royal Shakespeare Theatre and Shakespeare's Globe. The play's relative obscurity is connected to its supposed strangeness, but in more recent times its extraordinary complexity has seemed more a blessing than a curse. One of the things I'd be interested to hear about is whether you think this play is productively or enjoyably strange, or whether, as many commentators have suggested, in the parlance of our day, it's simply a hot mess. I want to suggest 4 different ways in which this play is, for better or worse, deeply strange, in terms of its language and metre, its narrative, its dramaturgy, and its genre. Cymbeline was written in 1610, in a period that scholars now describe as Shakespeare's late era. Like other plays Shakespeare wrote at this time, but perhaps more than most, the play challenges or even disrupts completely the supposed sanctity of iambic pentameter. In truth, Shakespeare's reliance on a rigid iambic pentameter line is overstated. It would be really boring if every line had the exact same metrical rhythm. But in Cymbeline we can see a self-conscious and elaborate troubling of what has come to seem like Shakespeare's standard metrical form. This troubling comes about partly because the play repeatedly engages a syntax which is extremely complex, if we're being charitable, or simply torturous, if we're not. Shakespeare loves mixing metaphors, but again, in Cymbeline and in other late plays, we see him pushing the logic of metaphorical conceit further than he might have been wont to do in his earlier plays. So Cymbeline is a challenging read, and I really hope you enjoy grappling with the oddity of its lines. Cymbeline is also strange in narrative terms. Plots proliferate, characters switch in and out of disguise, they double-cross one another, they appear to hold one identity and then apparently another. If Cymbeline is at times tricky to follow on the level of the line, it can also be difficult to grasp in wider narrative terms. The play opens with a self-conscious act of narration as 2 unnamed gentlemen discuss the state of affairs of Cymbeline's kingdom. One of them, seemingly, knows nothing about the kingdom, the other apparently everything. One asks short questions, but what's the matter, and why so? The other answers at considerable length. We're often told that drama shows rather than describes. Not here. Shakespeare apparently wants us to pay attention to narrative from the outset, as if to prepare readers and spectators for the complexity that is to follow. The play continually delights in unconventional narrative techniques. I won't spoil the final revelation, because the play will do that for you. You'll know what happens long before any of the characters. If the opening of the play hints at a kind of stasis, the play otherwise revels in all manner of strange and extraordinary theatrical delights. When Shakespeare wrote Cymbeline, the King's men had access to 2 regular playhouses, the outdoor Globe and the indoor Blackfriars. The smaller, indoor, candlelit venue was still a novelty for the company at this point, and it seems to have pushed Shakespeare into more daring and creative dramatic innovations. A stage direction in the printed playtext calls for Jupiter to descend in thunder and lightning, sitting upon an eagle, throwing a thunderbolt before apparitions fall on their knees. A strange sight indeed, but apace with the play's metrical, linguistic and narrative invention. Notice also the play's musicality, which is in keeping with Shakespeare's other late career drama. The play repeatedly calls for solemn music, and its best known lines, the gorgeously elegiac "Fear no more the heat of the sun," come from one of the play's songs. Shakespeare is interested in appealing to and even dazzling the senses with strange spectacles and soundscapes. Unsurprisingly then, Cymbeline is also a generically strange play, as hard to classify as its disguised characters are to identify. Even for those of us happy to accept that tragedies can be funny and comedies sad, Cymbeline seems hard to accommodate. The 1623 folio lists the play as a tragedy, as may befit its ancient British setting and its violent action. But the play doesn't easily fit the expectations of tragedy either, and later generations have come to classify it variously as a tragicomedy, a romance, or a late play, all terms which, in different ways, suggest generic unease. Shakespeare's contemporary and collaborator John Fletcher said that tragicomedy should come near death while ultimately avoiding it, but this unruly play doesn't even manage that. The difficulty readers and audiences have in classifying Cymbeline is part of the reason for its relative neglect. For many commentators, it isn't quite clear what the play wants to be or what it's trying to do. In many respects, performing, reading and watching plays is a strange enterprise. It's hard to know who's stranger, the people pretending to be other people or the people who watch them. But Cymbeline ups the ante. It takes the invitation to strangeness, which is theatre, and runs with it. Runs far, out the door and into the hills. I think it is a play that wants you to come with it. It wants you to enjoy strangeness. And I hope that you will do. Thank you.